Amanda here. Thanks for joining me. I've got a lovely card for you today. You're really going to like this. It's super easy. Anybody can have a go, and it's really nice. So what I'm using, it's really nice. Promise you. I'm using this stamp set today, which is Textures by Lou Collins. That's the whole collection, and in there is a peacock plume, and this is the single feathers stamp set, so it's just got these 3 feathers in. So this one is huge. This one really lends itself to a lovely mixed media canvas or in your art journals. I'm going to use this smaller one here today. Okay, I have done some of the prep beforehand just to make the video a little bit faster. So I've got here, it's good quality mixed media paper, so I can do watercolouring on it, I could do whatever, and it just means it's a bit more sturdy than your average Whisper White. So I can soak that with water and it's not going to ruin my paper. So I'm soaking it with water first of all, and then I've got a cup of water at the side of me and some brushes. I've got some watercolour paints here, just bog standard. I got them from Amazon. If I can see the same ones on Craftstash, I'll leave you a link. Otherwise, just go on Amazon and get the cheapest. They all work in much the same way, just some you get better variety of colour. And obviously, you know, the pigment will be better the more you pay. But if you're new to it and you're just experimenting, just get anything. Okay, so I'm using here, there's like a light pearlised blue. And all I'm going to do, that paper's nice and wet. I'm not an artist, but you can get some really cool effects with watercolour paint. So I'm going to go in like a kind of an S shape, and I'm just dabbing the colour on. I'm not even painting, I'm not going in a certain pattern, I'm just adding the paint to my paper, okay, and letting the watercolour paint just spread, and it'll just spread with the you know, because your paper's wet. Okay, and just leave it to spread and leave it alone. And then I just add some slightly darker tones and leave them to spread. You just make yourself a lovely patterned background. Okay, alright, a bit more. Just going to dry that brush off ever so slightly. I just want a little bit more dark colour here. Okay, and we're just going to leave that to kind of do its own thing and run. And I'm kind of looking for what I'm hoping for is like clouds, I suppose. Okay, so I'm just cleaning my brush off, and then I've got like a white silvery pearlised one. I'm going to see if some of that will go on as well. I've not used this one before, so it's quite dry. Right, let's see if we can get some of this on. I'm just going to dab some of the, I've got a bit too much water. You can always dab a bit off. I'm just going to add some of this. You might not see it, but it's going to give like a silvery look there. And I'm just dabbing that in between because, like I say, I want it to look like clouds. Okay. There we go. And then maybe just a little bit more blue, just to give a bit more depth of colour around and spotted about. And I'm going to leave it at that, and then I'm going to quickly dry it with my heat gun. Okay, I will fast forward it and knock the sound off, so just bear with me, I'm just drying it. Water and the paint do all the work, and I've got myself a lovely looking background there. Now, I have stamped this feather, okay, in this mixed media paper because I wanted it to be nice and sturdy. And what I did was I have embossed it in silver embossing powder, okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a bone folder and I'm just kind of going to curl it. So because this is mixed media paper, the embossing won't crack and I can kind of curve it a bit, okay. Because I want to put it on my card front, kind of, you know, so it's bowed, so it looks like it's floating. That's the idea. Whether it'll work, who knows, but we'll see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this down onto a card base now, so that it's nice and sturdy. So I've cut a card base. I'll leave you a link to my blog in the description box below. All of the measurements will be on there. Okay, so it's a standard card base. I think I've done it 6 by 4 1/4. Then I've taken some of the paper from the collection and I've just cut that 1/8 of an inch shorter. And this is the where it's like that ombre effect. It's beautiful. Okay, so we're going to get that on. My desk's still a little bit wet, so I just need to be careful. I'm just going to go back over it in a second with my my rag, with my cleaning cloth. Right, so I'm just going to layer that on there nicely. Make sure it's nice and even. And we've just got a very slim border there. Just gives me a little bit of background colour because I don't have lots of coloured card, so I'm using white card and using the patterned papers as my background. Right, let me just re-dry my desk. I try my best not to use things like baby wipes because I'm thinking about the whales and the dolphins. So let's have a look. Which way up do we want this now? So it's going to need cutting, is this. It's going to need cutting down. It's too big. So let me just cut it to size. Let me just think what size it needs to be. Let me just have a think. I should have cut it to size before I started, but I wanted to get a nice big spread and then see where we'd got and then cut it down. So I just need my ruler. Let me see what size I've cut this to. So I've cut this 4 by 5 1/2. So I want this 3 3/4. Let me just trim a bit off of this side and then turn it round. 3 3/4 by 5 1/2 is what we're after. So let's have a look where 5 1/2 is. Yeah, I think we'll do that bit there. Yeah, 5 1/2. I don't know, I like that top bit. It's hard to decide which bit to cut off because I like it either way all of it's gone. Oh well, we're going to have to sacrifice some of it. We'll go that way. Okay. It's very pretty. I love it. So I'm just going to edge it ever so slightly with some, I've got some navy blue ink on this little distress tool here from a project I did the other day, so I'm not adding any further. I just want to take the harshness off the edge of that, and then I'm going to glue it down with my colour because it's nice and strong, and then wait for this to dry. So your paper can bend slightly when you're doing watercolour, you know, washes and things like that. It's fine because if you glue it onto your page and just hold it there for a while, it will soon dry and it will straighten itself. So I'm just going to get that in there. I just have to hold it up towards myself to see if it's straight. Okay. I'm happy with that, I think. It's nice and straight. Right. Let me just give that an extra press, because obviously it's water, you know, mixed media paper, it's thick and it's gotten wet, so it's warped, but that will be fine, that will dry down. So now I've got my feather, and what I've also done is I've taken sentiment and I've done it to suit myself. So I've kind of done a bit of a cut and shut. So from this one here, which is the peacock plume, we've got this large one here that says, "Those who fly solo have the strongest wings," and it's a beautiful big stamp with this decorative piece, but I only wanted the words. So what I did was I stamped the whole thing onto card, I embossed it with black embossing ink, and then fussy cut it. And the reason that I embossed it, I'll give you this tip, is because when you're fussy cutting something so small, you're going to be holding it like that with your hands, and it can, the heat from your hands will invariably, whatever ink you use, it will, apart from maybe stays on, it would end up smudging it. So if you do it in embossing powder and dry it, then obviously it's not going to smudge ever, no matter what you do. You know, if you decide you want to put some sprays on top or splatters, or, you know, and as you're fussy cutting and you're holding it, the ink won't run. So let's get these layered. I'm going to use some dimensional foam dots for the feather. Okay, on that. And you'd only really need two, and you just kind of bunch it up like that a little bit to get that curve. So we'll just remove these, and I'm going to see, I want it kind of going across the page because it naturally has like a curve in the shape of it. It's very beautifully done. Love it. So there, like so. So it goes across the page like that. And then we should just have room for our sentiment. And it says, those who fly solo have the strongest wings. I'm going to have that going over there. No, what I need to just do is, if I can just carefully get that back off, I just need to move it up ever so slightly. Just so I've got room for my sentiment. Let me just get that off. Just ever so slightly needs moving up. Let me just get another dot. Just readjust. Sometimes, you know, you have a plan and you've just got to ever so slightly readjust. There we go. So that will fit there now. Okay. Right, so am I going to ink around the edge? I'm not going to ink around the edge, and the reason being, the reason for that is that I don't want to ruin it. And I'm using this glue because it's got a finer tip. But again, I do like the non-PVA glues at the moment. I might change my mind if I find a PVA glue that I really, really like. But to stick onto this watercolour paper so that it's nice and sturdy. You could have that, you know, curved as well. You could. I'm not gonna, but you could. Okay. Just hold that down. And this one. I'm concentrating. You know when I'm quiet, because either I'm asleep or I'm concentrating. Okay. I think this is a beautiful sentiment, and I love the idea that I can separate it and use it however I want it by just fussy cutting it. Okay, so what I'm just going to do now, that's all done. I didn't do it in the silver, I did it in the black because I wanted it to stand out rather than in the silver the same as the feather. So that feather there now is like 3D on that card. So all I need to do now is just get my fan brush Okay, and I'm going to get some, what shall I use? I want to just put a little bit of splatter, not a lot, just a bit, because I don't want to ruin it. I'm going to use this little iridescent one rather than white, I think. It's nearly done, is this? I've had it a long time. Okay, so let me just get some bit of scrap. I don't really want it on the actual feather, so just tap that and get off. Don't know what that is, get off. Yeah, so I don't mind if it goes on the words, but I don't want it on the feather. That's better. Getting better splatter by doing that. Okay. Alright. And I don't mind if it goes on the paper, you know, on the blue at the edge. I can always wipe it if it goes on the embossing on the words anyway. Bit there. There we go, that's pretty, and it also adds just that little bit of texture. Let me just make sure none of it's on my words. Don't really want it on there, get off. What's that? Got this random piece of, I don't know what that was. So there we go. I think that's really pretty. I think you could easily make that card. If I can do it, you can do it. And look at that, you've got a water wash background. Absolutely beautiful. Give it a try. The links for everything I've used will be in the description box below. Thanks for watching. Take care. I'll see you soon. Bye.